Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studio in Chicago, Illinois, it's time for Chicago Business Radio. Brought to you by FirmSpace, your private sanctuary for productivity and growth. To learn more, go to firmspace.com. Now, here's your host.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Chicago Business Radio. I'm your host, Max Cantor, and before we get started, as always, today's show is sponsored by FirmSpace. Thanks to FirmSpace, because without them, we couldn't be sharing these important stories. And we got a good one for you today. On today's show, we have the founder and president of Pietryla PR and Marketing. So please welcome to the show, Pietryla Wetzler. Welcome to the show, Christine.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you about everything you're doing. So let's jump right in. Tell me a little bit about Pietryla PR and Marketing.
Well, we've been here in Chicago for 20 years. I can't believe it's been that long. It's gone so fast, but it has been. I have lived in Chicago a little bit longer than that. Worked downtown at a couple of PR firms prior to starting this one. And for the last 20 years, have been working with clients on both the B2B and B2C sides of the packaging, plastics, and food and beverage brand side of things.
So what inspired you to start your own PR firm?
It's actually kind of interesting because when I did it in 2002, there weren't a lot of people. The gig economy wasn't really a thing yet. And freelancing wasn't really ubiquitous yet. So it was a little different. I had gotten laid off at an agency, and that was happening at the time to many different agencies. And the one thing that was kind of strange was our agency had a lot of different kinds of capabilities, and PR was one of them. And so our staffing wasn't as robust as I had seen at other agencies. So I was dealing with a lot of clients kind of on my own, which kind of made me realize, wow, I'm one person that can handle a lot of project management here. And then when I started interviewing for new jobs, I interviewed for one at a software company, and they said, well, this job really isn't full time, but we can pay you part time. And they offered to 1099 me, which was kind of a new concept. And I just kind of melded those two things together and thought, well, gosh, if I could get 2 or 3 more of these, I could run a successful business. So I reached back out to some of the clients that I had prior because they had nowhere to go. I mean, our agency was out of business, and picked some of them back up. And it just kind of rolled from there. It was an, opportunistic, 2 things just kind of came together and kind of clicked in my head. Mm-hmm. And then of course, after a few years, everybody started getting the same idea. And now we have, freelancing and starting your own business is something that is pretty fundamental, I think, mm-hmm. for most people.
Now, what are some challenges a business would have to be facing for them to go, you know what, I could use Christine's help?
I think the biggest challenge is there are things about marketing and PR that are very difficult to understand. And I think that it's a very simple task. It's kind of like when you look at somebody playing a game, you can look at it and say, wow, that looks like a simple game. But then you start playing it and you realize it's not as simple as it seems. And I think PR is one of those things where, some people have a talent for it. They could be a little bit better at it than other people just naturally. But it is something that you have to practice over time, and you have to develop the relationships over time and know how to approach people. And I think that a business owner can very easily, because of the way that they are kind of wired to want to be ambitious and to want to do everything, can feel like I can do this myself. I can do this. And I would say that when you get to the point where you realize I need help with this, mm-hmm. this is not something I can do myself. We're the firm that bridges that gap, because we do not function as a huge firm where we're going to ask for, $20,000 a month for a 12-month contract and everything like that. We're going to come in, a small handful of people, and say, okay, let's talk about what you really want to accomplish. Let's focus on the things that really need to happen in order to push your business forward. And then let's work together to make those things happen. You're working with me, you're working with other senior leaders that have done this. We're not coming in with a team of young people who have to ask permission to do things before they do it. We're coming in and really being helpful to an owner or to a brand owner. The other thing that we offer, and we do this a lot, is because content has become so much a big part of what we offer, is that we're very quick studies, particularly in the industries that we service. And so when you work with us, you don't have to get us up to speed over a couple months. We can write content and create content within a matter of days that resonates. So because we already know what we're doing. So it's pretty, I think, just a kind of the too long didn't read version of the answer to your question is we are the skilled kind of bridge between a much, much bigger agency and a very, very detailed single consultant. We offer the best of both of those things. So we can help kind of ease you into doing this on a bigger scale.
Now, you talked a little bit about content creation and writing copy. What are some other services that you kind of provide to your clients when they come to you for help?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the content is a big one because that's really king right now with everything. We've seen PR open up into social media and influencers and developing relationships with those kind of content creators as well as reporters. But we've also seen different kinds of marketing. Right now, we're seeing people go back to more of the traditional basics, email marketing, which sounds very old and traditional, but when we do it, it's more personalized. It's more segmented and fundamental. So we're not recommending that people blast out 5,000 emails to people. We're recommending that they segment them into bits of 10, 15, 20 contacts at a time and send personalized content to those folks, and then use an automation system or a segmenting system like ActiveCampaign or there are a myriad of them, but the one that we use is ActiveCampaign, to make sure that you can do that at scale, even if your list is 5,000 people. So we've been incorporating email, we've been incorporating Google ad campaigning, and we've been doing quite a bit of keyword searching and creating content with the intent of getting people online to pay attention to what's happening too.
So what it sounds like to me is like every time a business comes to you, you guys are really putting in the work to give them that unique experience that's going to help their growth in a unique and specific way through research, through education too, introducing them to programs like you said, ActiveCampaign or Google Ads. You guys are really putting in the work to help each client individually. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And we're helping them develop their own skill set too. We're agnostic. So I know I mentioned ActiveCampaign. That's the one we like best, but we don't need to work with any one specific software. I like to tell people, we sit down with you. If you give me a problem, we're going to help you fix it in the best way possible. And if that means that it's another solution, then that's what it means. We're going to help you get up to speed with it, or it might not be software at all. It could just be that maybe we need to help you reorganize your time and the team that you have in place in-house so that we can create more content in-house. There's a lot of folks that have the resources. They're just not being used properly, or they're being used in a way that everyone kind of said, oh, this is the way you need to do it. But it's not moving the needle, and they don't understand why. We come in and say, well, this is why. Mm-hmm. So let's focus more on, doing this, instead of doing what everyone kind of told you should be doing, instead. Because at the end of the day, all of this is supposed to sell whatever it is that you need to sell. It should be fun, and it should be entertaining, and it should be fun to work on. And ultimately, that's what we all want out of what we do every day. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's supposed to sell. So you want to sell your product. You want to sell the skills of your team. You want to create a culture that draws people in, is compelling. You can do that with content, and you can radiate your company culture with content, but there isn't a silver bullet for it. You do have to sit down and give some thought to what the best way to do that is. And it is different for everybody. Just because everybody's different. There is no out of the box way to do it.
Can you share a success story that's come out of you working with a client?
Oh, absolutely. We have one right now. We're just finishing up a really successful lead generation program for a company called Secure Applications. They're a women-owned business, manufacturer's representative for security packaging solutions. So when you are, say like Intel, you're shipping a bunch of pallets of computers. You need to have, RFID packaging. You need to have certain kinds of shrink wrap solutions, like tape solutions and things like that on the cargo to make sure that nobody steals anything while it's sitting in the cargo bays and things like that. This company makes that. People don't really understand that until they need it, or it's mandated by somebody to have. So they have an audience that is educated after the fact, which is really tough because they don't know what they don't know. Mm-hmm. So we came in, created a new website, created some content. We've been able to create a little bit of content on social media to help create some forward education, like why you would need this, how simple it is to enact, where the point in the process is to start thinking about, implementing some of these security measures and why it's important. And then also just case studies, talking about when other people do it so that, people aren't thinking about it when they've been told, hey, it's a regulation. You have to have this kind of label on your pallet before we can store it. We want them thinking about it before that. And so we've been able to basically overhaul their entire lead system, and they've not only gotten more leads, but very high level leads out of it. So we're very pleased with the results of that program. And as we roll out their new website, I'm expecting it to be even better, the lead quality, once that happens. So, and that kind of thing really wasn't unattainable. It wasn't something that cost an arm and a leg. It was just a tweak. It was a couple tweaks and a reshifting of how we talked and how we communicated with people online.
So, Christine, that story is a perfect kind of transition into my last question for you. This is a question I ask every guest that comes on Chicago Business Radio. For you, what would you say is the most rewarding part of what you get to do?
Oh, that for sure. That business, like I said, Gina, the owner's woman-owned business, I know that it had the capacity and the opportunity to help a lot of people, protect their assets. She works with people in a way that's very similar to us, very principled, very, very nice and welcoming. She's the kind of person when somebody calls her and they say, "What can I do?" She'll stay on the phone with you forever and tell you all the different ways you can do things and find the least expensive and the easiest way for you to do it. And so helping her improve the quality of the leads she was getting, helping her expand her business. She got to the point where she could hire a salesperson. That was amazing. Just feeling like that was something that we had a hand in helping with was, I can't even describe that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just such a good feeling. And so, yeah, I think we have, it's different with every client, but we have a moment like that with almost all of our clients where, there's opportunity to be had. And we finally get to that point where they're realizing it. And it's just a nice little celebration point. It's fun. That's what makes this worth all the hard work every day.
Now, if someone wants to work with you guys or learn more about all the services that you provide, what's a good website or maybe social media where they can do that?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is how we used to spell our name when we were little kids. It's PytrylaPR.com. So that's PytrylaPR.com is our website. Everything's on there. You can also just email me directly. I usually answer everything directly. It's Christine@PytrylaPR.com. And again, that's just PytrylaPR.com. And then you can also call us at 312-612-0283.
Awesome. Well, Christine, it was such a pleasure talking with you today. Hearing you share all your stories, you're so passionate about what you're doing, and it was just a pleasure to learn more about your business and everything you guys are doing for the community. We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you asking all these questions. It was lovely to share some of it.
Of course. Well, thanks to you for listening to another episode of Chicago Business Radio. I'm your host, Max Cantor, and we'll see you next time.
This episode of Chicago Business Radio has been brought to you by FirmSpace, your private sanctuary for productivity and growth. To learn more, go to firmspace.com.